Actively engage students in observable ways. So engagement is both passive, listening to a lecture, for example, and active, which is doing, writing, and answering. And as I've said yesterday and a few times since, action engagement is the best mediating variable between instruction and academic achievement, coming from another empirical source, but saying the same message that I shared yesterday, that learn units, active student responding, is the single greatest predictor of learning, period, full stop. The more a student responds, the faster and the more they'll learn. Our students have to be doing, not just listening and passively getting through school. Active engagement is incompatible with problem behavior, which makes sense. If my student is actively doing work, then they're too occupied to be engaging in problem behavior. If they're not actively engaged, there's a vacuum of inactivity and something's going to fill that vacuum. And more often than not, it's things that you would rather not be happening. So you don't want a vacuum. And that goes hand in hand with the earlier message of structure, structure, structure. The more structure you provide, the more learn units, the more engaged, the more learning, the less likely you're going to have problem behavior. Right? Remember the importance of learn units. Increasing student active engagement, so opportunity to respond. Teacher behavior is ask a question. Student behavior is all students are expected to respond, which is the opposite of the traditional put up your hand. Right? This is called group choral responding. So this is a simple change that a teacher could make. Instead of presenting a question and looking for one hand, which means that 1 out of 30 has the opportunity to respond, right, and really lowers the learn unit opportunities for everybody. A teacher could come up with a cue system, like, I'm going to ask a question. This means I'm asking a question, and when I'm done, and then all the students together, and I can see all of your mouths moving, and if your mouth isn't moving, then I know that, and I can maybe have you to repeat it, or not everyone's mouths are moving, let's try that again, and my eyes are on you, and now everyone's responding. It's a way for a teacher to constantly gauge how actively involved the students are and probably how much they're getting the lesson, right? If a child is confused and really unsure of their participation, you'll be able to see that right in front of you. So you can do group choral responding. This is a simple behavior analytics strategy that can be used certainly through elementary school, if not some classes in high school, and even in university and adult training settings. I'll show you a video of that. Another option is response cards, where no one has to say the same thing at the same time, but everyone might have a card. So I've done this in some of my classes where I have an X and a check mark, and I'm going to ask a true and a false question. Ready? Here's the true and false question. Think about it, respond, and then everyone has to hold up their answer. And I can see that there are, 25 corrects and a couple errors, and so I can say, so you guys didn't get it, or maybe I don't want to pick on the ones who didn't get it, but I can tell, right, that not everyone got it, so maybe offer a bit more explanation, or I can see, okay, everyone got that, very good. Maybe it was an easy question, or maybe I've just been teaching you well, right? Another version of the same thing is eye clickers. Have you guys seen the eye clicker? Really cool. We've started using it in our AB program at Capilano. We have students in the back who've used the eye clickers, right? Little remote control, and it's tied to a portal on the teacher's computer, and a question goes up, multiple choice, and then everyone clicks their A, B, C, or D on their clicker, and then all the data in real time gets popped up, and the teacher can see how everyone's getting it or see it on their screen. So that's a way of actively engaging. It's really popular in a lot of big universities in the United States and probably Canada, where you've got a lecture theater of 300 students in intro philosophy or something, and they've got their clickers to participate so that they're not sleeping through intro philosophy. They're actively engaging. Here's doing it with response cards.
Hi, my name is Amy Ayers, and I'm currently a 4th grade math teacher in Lubbock Independent School District. In the past, I've taught 6th grade science. In both settings, the strategies I'm showing today are useful in all settings, but particularly in math and science. One of the things I use in my classroom on a fairly regular basis is response cards. This is an example of the response card my students use. I made these because it's very affordable to make them yourself, but you can also purchase them if you like them to be neat and nice. Mine, I utilize 4 different colors so that I can use them just to kind of gauge where students are. They can show me, they can pinch the green if they're feeling very confident about the material, yellow if they're a little bit uncomfortable with it, red if they totally don't understand what I'm talking about, and blue means that they get it, bonus, I can teach you. I also use it for multiple choice assessments. I just do a couple questions in class. I wouldn't utilize it if I was doing 20 plus questions. I'd do something different. But for just a few checkpoint questions before we move on to something else, I'll have them grab this out of their caddy at their table. Each student has one of their own. They hold it in front of them and they look at the question, and then I say 3, 2, 1, reveal, and they will pinch whatever they select. I encourage them to hold it in front of their chest so that it's not something that everybody around them is looking for, and it's more just a response between me and them. Another feature of this card is on the back. You can also use it for yes, no responses and true, false responses. So this makes it a little more versatile and allows you to use different types of questions with your students. I use this pretty much every day in my classroom, and the kids work well with it. It works well with them, and I hope you find it useful.
Pretty simple. A way of encouraging active student responding. If it's not appropriate, not desirable that they're all doing choral responding, everyone responds to every question. That's the point, as opposed to 1 out of 30 students gets to respond to the teacher's question. You're maximizing learn units. Good for all students, good for kids with autism. And then we're talking about the spectrum of autism, so there are those who maybe not in class and follow these types of instructions. That's not applicable. For those who are in class, they can be included in this as well. Model lead tests, just a package of instructional antecedents. So model, listen, 1 + 6 = 7. Lead, say it with me. 1 + 6 = 7. Altogether, test, your turn. You say that fact. So it's a repetitive structure, and everyone participates all the time. Model, lead, test. I think we can capture that here.
What's the name of the strategy? Taking apart. Taking apart. And when I take apart numbers, I look at the different digits, and I think about what they represent, and I take them apart. Right? So I look at 33 and I think to myself, there's 2 3s. This 3 means 30. This 3 means 3. And so I took it apart to 30 and 3. So I can use this sentence starter to help me say it. I took apart 33 to make 30 and 3. Say that with me, please. I took apart 33 to make 30 and 3. Okay, let's do...
All right, so you see the model, lead, didn't really see the test on that one, but another variation of the theme of active student responding, choral responding. Another way to increase student active engagement is class-wide peer tutoring. So option 1 in instruction is that the teacher asks 10 questions, and only 10 of the 30 students are able to respond to those questions, right? It's a low response opportunity for your average student. And the second option is that the teacher provides a question set and the students get into pairs and take turns asking, quizzing each other on those questions while the teacher moves around to make sure that they're on topic, right, on task. So doing a bit more class-wide peer tutoring and having them quiz each other with some structured materials is another way to get them doing more as opposed to sitting and listening, which we want to avoid. And there's just some data showing that. Let's skip through in the interest of time. Guided notes is another great strategy that works as we move into higher grades and more sophisticated subjects. It's fantastic in high school and in university. So guided notes take advantage of one of the most consistent and important findings in recent educational research. Students who make frequent, relevant responses during a lesson learn more than those who are passive. Another way of saying the same message I've been repeating over and over again, right? Note, I haven't used guided notes today. I've handed you, for the slides that you have, the entirety of the notes. But guided notes would look like this. Key phrase is missing. And as we move slide to slide, you have to fill in the blank so that you're paying attention to what's being said, right? Increase student, what goes here? Active engagement. What's here? Guided notes take advantage of one of the most, right? So you would be paying attention to, you have to be paying attention to what's on the slide. You have to write it down. Otherwise, when you go home, you don't have your notes that are complete. So this is a fantastic strategy for including all students, and in particular students with autism, that I use often in high schools. English, social studies, writing classes, right? Those make the most sense.